What's up guys, Devin Paul here, and today I'm going to teach you 10 tips to take you from where you are today to becoming a master handpan player or tongue pan. First tip is pretty obvious and we all hate it. We all hate that we have to do this, but in order to become a master panist, you have to practice the fundamentals. You have to practice the rudiments. Without the building blocks, without the foundation, you cannot build a skyscraper, right? You can't build a skyscraper on sand because it'll just go whee, psh, fall over before you're even done building it. So you have to practice your rudiments, whether it's flams, patty flaws, paradiddles, hybrid rudiments, everything. Practice as much of these as you can because they are the building blocks towards your success. This next tip I learned from Drew Tucker, who was my vibraphone teacher and front ensemble instructor at my high school, and it's called connecting your strokes. He told me not to stroke a note on the marimba or vibraphone and just let my mallet sit there. Connect it to the next stroke. And this not only is because we play very visual instruments, like with wind instruments and string instruments, well, string instruments specifically, like you can see the person going down and like getting really passionate about what they're playing and going faster and faster and faster. We have to do the same kind of thing. We play a very visual instrument. So whenever you're playing, connect your strokes. And that'll not only make it easier so you're not rushing to get to the next note because you sit there for a beat and then you go over, like just connect it. Nice fluid motion at all times. And that'll make it both easier to play and more visually appealing just because it's all about the visuals for these instruments. If you've ever watched Jacob Cole, Capico, aka Carlos Rodriguez, my homie, and Adrian Portillo, you'll oftentimes notice that they use harmonic isolations. As such, that's why I'm tossing this in here. So isolate your harmonics. You can use the octave or the compound fifth. You can use one-handed isolation harmonics, which is where you use your ring finger and then you stroke it. So it's kind of like that. You hit it, it's like kwa-cha, kwa-cha. It's like a flam. So you can do that, or you can do the two-handed where you hold and you stroke at a 90-degree angle. Whatever your preference is, it just makes it sound way more complicated and way more intricate, which is why I'm tossing it in here. Also, another big thing is percussive slaps. If you've watched Sam Mayer's viral YouTube video, you'll notice that he uses a lot of percussive slaps. And that actually makes these instruments sound even more interesting because they're like, wait a minute, one person's playing, they're doing the bass, they're doing the snare, they're doing all the like melodies and everything, and they're just like, what is this? You know, like percussive slaps take your playing up to that next level. If you can do them consistently, toss them in so it's not too overwhelming, but also add a little flair to your composition. Tip number 5 is more about composition of like grooves and chords and how to use chord progressions over when to use groove progressions, things like that. So all I'm gonna leave it at is find a perfect balance. You don't want something to be like too groovy, so it's just like bass. You're just doing like ding and percussive stuff, and then you're forgetting about everything else, like about the chords, about the notes, everything like that. But you also don't want to just do chords and arpeggios and things like that. I mean, for each composition, there's like, depends on what you're trying to achieve, but try and find a perfect balance between using percussive parts of the instrument as well as using the chordal parts. And a really good example of this would be Esperas no Mar, which is one of Capico's compositions. It's on his YouTube, it's on his new album, so definitely check that out and should give you a little bit of a better understanding of what I'm trying to say. Adding on to that, what I would also suggest is dynamic contrast. If you're just playing something full out the entire time, everybody's gonna be like, yay, it's loud! And then after about a minute, they'll be like, yay, it's loud. So you don't want to bore the listeners. You don't want to make it sound too boring. And I'm actually a huge culprit of this, as I'm sure we all are. But I'll get so involved in what I'm playing, and it'll just take me away, and I'll just play at the same dynamic level. I don't really do well with changing the dynamic level from way up here to down here very quickly. So use your dynamics, add to the contrast, and that'll take your playing from here way up here, just because it'll make it more interesting and it'll also add more of a refined composition feel to it. So it's not just you're throwing it together, but it feels very refined and created and curated. The last part of the composing tips is number 7. I almost did 8 or 6, I don't know, but it's 7, and that is the rests. So every band instructor that I've ever had, whether it be in elementary school, in middle school, in high school, they've all said the same thing. The rests are just as important as the actual playing, because it adds dramatic effect. And it adds time for people to think about what they just heard, and time for people to like kind of wonder what's coming next. But it can also add tension. It has a lot of uses. So make sure you're using rests. Don't just play through an entire piece jamming and grooving and going ham on it. Add some time to breathe. Add some time for the listener to think about what they just heard and to actually realize that you're an awesome player. So the last 3 techniques, number 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10. There we go. Are actually not as technical as dynamics or any other previous techniques and tips, but one of them is independent. So that means your right hand is completely free of whatever your left hand is playing, or right, left, if you're watching this, I believe. I'm not sure how that works, but your right hand is completely independent of what your left hand is doing, which means that you can play 16th notes on your right hand and triplets on your left hand, or you can do like crazy like wirings, like going around, you're like ka-chow, 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 like you're a ninja warrior, you're chopping down some trees, you're chugging along through, and you're just blasting through on whatever it is that you're playing, meaning that like you're just going, you're vibing, you're playing without having to think about what each hand is doing, because they're so independent that you don't have to think, oh, I'm doing 16th notes on one hand, I'm doing triplets on the other hand, oh no, how did they line up? You're just playing them. So independence, practicing polyrhythms, practicing polymetric rhythms, I believe they're called, where you're playing 4 notes going up and down, and then you're playing 6 notes or 5 notes going up and down, and then you kind of have to realize that your hands have to do independent things because they're going up and down at different rates and you're hitting different notes. So it's not the same thing over and over again. Very, very challenging. There's a thread on the forum about that on handpan.org, so I definitely recommend checking that out. The second to last tip is simply recording yourself and analyzing how it is that you can get better. I do this all the time. I record all my practice sessions, whether it's at the beach, whether it's at my home, wherever it is that I'm practicing, I'm recording it so that I know how I can get better. Whether it's me being off from the metronome or me not really nailing the double stroke, whatever it is, I can really fine tune and critique myself by just watching myself. So I record, I don't even have to use a high quality microphone, I just use my phone. So record yourself with your phone, analyze yourself, look at how you can get better and things that you want to improve upon, like whether it be a technical issue or you want to compose something that pulls out your soul and makes you cry whenever you're playing it. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you can improve upon by watching yourself, taking notes, and then going down deep and digging into it and practicing those fine things, those things that you want to improve upon. And the last one is really going to make you guys be like, oh, thanks, Devin. It's not like I would have never guessed this before, but challenge yourself. Simply put, don't just keep playing the same grooves and the same things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because if you do, how are you gonna get any better? If you're just playing the same groove, the same chord progression over and over again. Probably gonna be doing the same thing a year from now or 6 months from now, however far out it is that you're looking to get better by. So challenge yourself. Watch videos on YouTube of Daniel Waples, Kabako, anybody, Adrian Portillo. Those are my 3 main guys that I go to. But there's tons of other handpan players out there and tunpan players out there that you can emulate to get better. So learn from their mistakes, learn from their techniques, apply it to yourself, and then bring your own kind of style to it and challenge yourself. To put it simply, if you're not challenging yourself and pushing yourself, if you're not stretching your muscles and building your muscles in your wrists right here, like look, I have look at that, like muscles. You gotta build that stuff. You gotta build it by practicing so that you can do faster rudiments, so that you can do more hard or more complex techniques and approaches and progressions and movements. You have to challenge yourself in order to get there. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. If you want any videos like demonstrating these, let me know, because this was very self-explanatory, I feel. It's more of like me coaching you than it is me demonstrating. But if you guys do want to see the demonstrations of any of the techniques, of the dynamics, like how to contrast and things like that, let me know, and I will definitely make that video for you guys. But without further ado, that's it for the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you liked it, smash that subscribe button if you loved it, and if you want to see more content, make sure you click that bell notification so you get all the notifications emailed right to your inbox of when I launch new videos, and you can keep updated as soon as I put something out. Alright, so that's it. See you guys next time, and as always, take care.